The late afternoon sun hangs low over the rolling hills of southwest Zealand, casting long shadows across the fields of Boeslunde. To the untrained eye, this is simply farmland, a quiet corner of Denmark defined by the plowshare and the pasture. But landscapes have memories. Beneath the green surface of this particular region, specifically on the slopes of the Borgbjergbanka, the Earth has kept a secret for nearly 3 millennia. It is a secret that challenges everything we thought we knew about the timeline of human history in Northern Europe. In August 2025, that silence was broken. Archaeologists unearthed a treasure so unexpected and so historically impossible that it has sent shockwaves through the scientific community. They found objects that, according to our standard textbooks, simply should not exist. Heavy iron lances, forged at the dawn of the Iron Age, yet decorated with the lavish, intricate gold craftsmanship of the High Bronze Age. This discovery does not just add a new item to a museum catalog. It rewrites the narrative of how societies evolve, how technology transfers across continents, and how the people of the deep past understood the divine. Today, we're going to walk through the mud of that excavation, examine these impossible artifacts, and reconstruct the world of the priest-king who wielded them. To understand the magnitude of this discovery, we first have to understand the location. Boeslunde has long been known among archaeologists as a goldfield. This isn't a metaphor. For decades, the soil here has seemed to literally sweat precious metal. Amateur detectorists and professional teams have pulled wonders from this earth, ranging from heavy gold oath rings to delicate bowls. But the excavation led by archaeologist Lone Cloudy Hansen in the summer of 2025 was looking for something more valuable than gold. They were looking for context. They wanted to know why this specific hillside was so holy. The team focused their efforts on a buried water source, a forgotten spring that had long since been covered by layers of peat and clay. In the cosmology of the prehistoric North, water was not just a resource. It was a liminal boundary. It was a membrane separating the world of the living from the world of the spirits and the gods. Springs that bubbled up from the deep earth were seen as direct portals to the underworld. If you wanted to send a message or a gift to the powers beneath, you placed it in the water. As the team carefully troweled away the organic mud of this ancient spring, they hit something hard and heavy. Expecting the familiar green-blue patina of oxidized bronze, they were confused to find a corroded, reddish-brown lump. It was iron. In a Bronze Age stratum, finding iron is like finding a microchip in a steam engine. It is a ghost material, often rumored but rarely seen. In the Nordic Bronze Age, iron was not yet the metal of utility. It was a distant rumor from the south. But as the object was cleaned, the confusion turned to awe. Under X-ray fluorescence in the conservation lab, the corrosion gave way to a sight that defied belief. Along the blade of this iron lance were circular inlays of pure gold. It was a fusion of two worlds: the new, terrifying technology of killing, which was iron, and the ancient, sacred metal of the sun, which was gold. Usually, dating metal artifacts is a game of estimation based on style. But the Boeslunde excavation offered a rare gift: chemistry. Preserved in the anaerobic, oxygen-free mud of the spring was a small lump of birch pitch. This prehistoric glue had been used to secure the lance's sheath. Because birch pitch is organic, it could be carbon dated. The results came back with a precision that is rarely seen in archaeology, pinning the object to between 900 and 830 BC. This date falls squarely within period V of the Nordic Bronze Age. That makes these lances the oldest iron weapons ever found in Denmark. They predate the official start of the Danish Iron Age by centuries. This proves that the transition to iron was not a slow, clumsy stumble or a result of a shortage of bronze. Instead, it was a high-status revolution embraced by the elite. Let's look closely at the lances themselves. The best preserved of the two measures 47 centimeters today, though in its prime, It would have been closer to 60 centimeters. In 900 BC, iron was not the metal of plowshares and nails. It was a rare, exotic substance, likely imported from the Hallstatt cultures of Central Europe, modern-day Austria or southern Germany, or perhaps even further south. It was magnetic, harder than bronze, and mysterious. To the people of Boeslunde, iron was likely seen as a magical material. By inlaying this dark foreign metal with local glowing gold, the smiths were creating a powerful symbolic object. The iron represented the new power, martial strength, and a connection to distant, exotic lands. The gold, eternal and incorruptible, represented the sun, the divine, and the continuity of the ancestors. The decoration consists of concentric gold circles, which is pure Bronze Age solar iconography. These lances were likely not meant for the chaotic mud of the battlefield. They were prestige weapons, carried by a chieftain or a priest to signal his command over both the earthly realm of trade and war and the heavenly realm of the sun. But why throw such priceless items into the mud? The 2025 excavation revealed that the gold field of Boeslunde was actually centered around this sacred spring. Surrounding the water, archaeologists found a cooking pit field, rows of ancient hearths used for preparing communal meals. This suggests that the deposition of the lances was not a secretive act by a lone individual. It was a public spectacle. We can imagine the scene. The community gathers at the slope of Borgbjerg Banki. Fires are lit, smoke curling into the autumn sky. A figure we might call a priest king, adorned in gold, steps forward to the edge of the black water. He holds the iron lance high, the gold inlays catching the sunlight. Then, with a prayer or a chant, he casts the weapon into the spring. It is a sacrifice of immense value, giving up the cutting edge of technology to appease the powers of the deep. This discovery is the latest piece of a puzzle that has been assembling itself for nearly 200 years. Boeslunde is arguably the most important ritual center of the late Bronze Age in Northern Europe. Before the lances, the field was famous for the discovery of oath rings. Between 2009 and 2013, 10 massive, solid gold arm rings were found, some weighing up to half a kilogram each. These were likely worn by chieftains on the upper arm as a visible display of immense wealth. Like the lances, they were found deposited singly, suggesting they were sacrificed one by one over a long period. But perhaps the most enigmatic find came in 2015 with the discovery of nearly 200 tiny gold spirals. These are made of flattened gold wire, hair-thin, and only a few centimeters long. Archaeologists Flemming Kahl and Kirsten Christensen have proposed a fascinating theory for these. They believe these spirals were decorations on a ceremonial costume. Imagine a cloak or a high hat, sewn with thousands of these tiny gold springs. As the wearer moved during a sun dance or a ritual procession, the spirals would catch the light, making the person shimmer like a living sun god. This brings us to the figure at the center of it all, the priest king of Boeslunde. The sheer concentration of gold, more than 4.5 kilograms found in this one area, suggests a centralization of power that challenges our understanding of Bronze Age society. This was not an egalitarian tribe. This was a hierarchy. Scholars now speak of a leader who combined political authority with religious duty. He was a trader, controlling the flow of amber, often called Nordic gold, south to the Mediterranean, receiving copper, tin, and eventually iron in return. He was a diplomat, as the iron lances suggest he had connections to the elite Hallstatt chieftains of Austria, and he was a mediator. His primary role was to stand between his people and the gods, ensuring the sun rose and the harvest did not fail. The gold-plated iron lances were likely his insignia of office, the scepter of a ruler who straddled two eras. This find forces us to rethink the concept of the Iron Age itself. Textbooks have traditionally drawn a sharp line between the Bronze Age and the Iron Age. The Boeslunde find blurs that line into irrelevance. It shows us that technological change was not a sudden switch, but a complex process of adoption and adaptation. The people of Boeslunde did not look at iron and see a better tool for farming. They saw a status symbol. They treated this new gray metal with the same reverence they treated gold. It took centuries for iron to become the common metal of the farmer. For the elite at Boeslunde, it was first a metal of the gods. The discovery of the Boeslunde lances is a triumph of modern archaeology. Through AMS dating, X-ray analysis, and persistent landscape study, we have recovered a moment frozen in time, the splash of a golden weapon hitting sacred water. It reminds us that the past was vibrant, colorful, and incredibly complex. The people of the Bronze Age were not primitive survivalists. They were sophisticated artisans, ambitious traders, and deeply spiritual thinkers. They stood on the hill of Borgbjerg Banka, looked out over the Baltic Sea, and felt themselves to be at the center of the world. And, looking at the gold that still glitters from their mud-soaked offerings, perhaps they were.